Hello everybody and welcome to our Common Running Mistakes series. My name is Dr. Cameron Garber. I'm here with Preston Johnson. This is video 2 in the series. We're really excited to bring this to you. And honestly, today is maybe one of the most important topics we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So it is runners avoiding strength training. It kills me, right? So many runners avoid strength training. And so we want to make sure we nip that in the bud. So if that's you, I want you to raise your hand. So go ahead and make a comment and say, yeah, I struggled to get in my strength training with my running. So give us a shout out if that's you and you've had problems with that as well. Would love to hear kind of why and some of the reasons that's hard for you. So first off, I want to introduce us. So again, I'm Dr. Cameron Garber. I'm with Body Smart Physical Therapy, and I want to thank Run for Fun, a Facebook group that is designed to help runners connect and really just a fun place to talk with one another and get some answers, as well as UtahRunning.com and Utah Running Shop. They're a great supporter of Body Smart and of runners throughout the Intermountain West and Wasatch Front. So thanks so much to those people. And then Preston, thanks so much for joining me and being part of this whole project. I'm excited to partner with you on it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm super excited to be a part of this and be able to share some of my expertise as well. I have a few people I want to thank as well. Some of my personal sponsors, Solomon Running and Gnarly Nutrition, who make my running career possible. And then my new club that I just launched, the Wasatch Run Club, that I'm super excited to be able to connect with the community that way. And be able to be a resource to other runners too.
Super excited about that too. That'll be fun. Yeah. So, strength training and runners. It seems counterintuitive a little bit that, runners should take time away from running to improve their running. But honestly, I think it may be one of the most important things, other than getting the miles in. That's important too, or the time in more than miles, in my opinion. But more important than that is making sure that we're balancing what we're doing on the trail or on the road with making sure that we're keeping safe, healthy, and building up the strength to be able to do it.
Yeah, and this problem, this common mistake that we've seen, it's not something that's just among a certain group of runners.
Yeah.
I've trained with high school teams, college teams, and now some professional athletes as well, and I see it all the way up and down the board.
Oh yeah.
Whether you're winning local races or you're competing on the national stage or you're just out there trying to get fit and just love the idea of going out for a run. It's something that I feel like is very important in progressing yourself as a runner.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why we brought it up today is to address that and bring it up so early in the series, because it is such an important thing that nobody does.
Yeah, unfortunately not enough.
Yeah.
So many runners struggle, and there's 3 main areas in which I feel like it really is so critical to be able to have the benefits of strength training in. One is injury prevention. It really does improve our load resistance. And if you didn't see episode 1, we talked a lot about improving our load and not overloading our tissues. And so injury prevention is huge. That's number 1. The other is just raising the ceiling of our capacity, becoming more fit. It helps a ton in becoming more fit. And then the third is really improving our fatigue resistance so that we're not so fatigable and poop out a lot sooner on our runs. So really important characteristics of running, yet most runners tend to forget about it. And to me, the injury prevention is, from my angle as a physical therapist, that's the biggest key. For you, it's probably more performance, right?
Yeah,
well, both,
definitely. Well, I'd say injury prevention's, equally as important in that, if you're injured, you're not running.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so essentially, like if you're having issues because of a weakness or loss in strength, you're not going to be competing.
Yeah.
And so lots of, my motivation to get in and do some strength training is because of that.
Yeah.
I've noticed, several weaknesses that I've had in my running throughout my career, and, tailoring my strength training plan toward those things has allowed me to be able to train consistently without having those pains repeatedly coming up.
Yeah, to me that's so critical. Being able to avoid the injury by increasing the load-bearing capacity of the tissue. if, let's say I can't deadlift 50 pounds when I get started, and that's really hard for me, and now all of a sudden I can deadlift 150 pounds. Essentially, I've increased the capacity of my muscles to do a lot more work. And so when I jump down, you may think, well, what do I need a deadlift for? Well, when I'm on a trail and running along and I jump down something and I have to absorb that shock with my glutes, with my hamstrings, with my quads, all those things, and those tissues are more resilient and stronger so that they can bear the impact of the load of your entire body weight. When that's no big deal for them because I've increased the load-bearing capacity of those tissues, then my injury risk is a lot less.
Yeah, and thinking about that principle of, as you're running and overcoming your body weight in each stride, think how many strides you do every single run.
Right.
Thousands, I'll see on my watch, I'll come back from a run and I'm usually at between 12 and 14,000 steps.
Right.
That's a lot of times that your body has to overcome your weight. And if you're using 90% of your capacity every single step, due to not having the strength necessary to run, you're going to be toast at the end, and be able to have those muscles recover and be able to bounce back for the next run is going to be non-existent. Whereas if you're incorporating your strength training, you're going to be able to maybe be using closer to 60-70% of those muscle fibers in there.
For that same intensity.
Yep. And then the amount of damage that's going to be done by the end of the run, the amount of tears and those myofibrils is going to be a lot less, as opposed to when you're going all out.
Yeah, if we can really reduce that amount of load that we're having to bear, not reduce the load, but improve our ability to bear that load, right? The strength is greater so that the impact on the muscle is much less. That's going to help a ton. And that really, so from an injury standpoint, that's huge. But also, for point number 2 of increasing our ceiling of where we can perform at. If I'm using less energy for every step, well, then that really improves, it kind of enlarges the battery, essentially, of how much energy I have or how much capacity I have to put into it. If I'm pushing myself less hard with every step, man, I can go a lot more steps. You mentioned that you're doing 14,000 steps. You think about that, when that is then 7,000 single leg hops.
Yeah.
When was the last time you did 7,000 reps of any strength training exercise, right? Pretty hard to do. And so, yes, momentum carries you forward and all those types of things, but really running is a series of single leg hops from one foot to the next, to the next, to the next. The stronger I am, the more I can hop with each leg, the further I can get with each hop, the more distance I'm covering at the same perceived level of effort. All of a sudden, I'm covering a lot more trail or a lot more road in the same amount of effort. Mm-hmm. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, definitely. That increased strength is going to help you cover ground faster.
Yeah.
And when you talk in regards to performance in your running, essentially, you have that max speed that you're going to be hitting. And the closer you get to that speed as you're running, and as you approach that, as you're in your 5K, your 10K, your marathon, whatever distance it is, it gets exponentially harder to increase. And that's why, when you see elites get half a second PR, they're ecstatic about it.
Yeah.
Whereas, the more the casual everyday runner, is PRing by sometimes minutes at a time.
Yeah.
And that's because they're getting closer to that max potential. What lifting does in being able to train those fast twitch muscle fibers is going to increase that ceiling. And so if your 5K pace is no longer here in regards to your max, it's down here, you have this much more room to grow, and it's going to be a lot easier to get that growth because you're not as close to that line.
Right.
Like I said, it's exponentially harder as you get closer to.
Right, and there have actually been studies where they've done that, where they've had 2 groups of runners follow the same running protocol, and the one they just had also add in strength training. Mm-hmm. And looked at their running paces and all that stuff, and the group that added strength training in both 5 and 10K times improved.
Yeah.
So just strength training alone helped people run faster because it increased that ceiling, it increased their capacity. So those two reasons alone, I think, are huge, right? Just getting injured less and improving your performance, so increasing your capacity, that's huge, right?
Yeah.
But I think another huge advantage then is decreasing your fatigue by being able to train more often and more because you're stronger. Now I've increased my fatigue resistance, and that's huge. So by increasing my fatigue resistance, I can get out and train more often, and now I can see quicker gains and more gains in my running overall.
Yeah, I think where I've seen this come into play most prevalently in my training is going to be in like your efficiency towards the end of a run or a hard workout.
Yeah.
When you're able to be, in your last rep of mile repeats and your legs aren't trashed, you still have strength, your form's not going to be falling apart. And when it comes down to, your ability to move quickly during a race, if you're still maintaining good form, you're going to be efficient, you're going to be using less energy, and you're going to be able to hold on those last few miles of your marathon or whatever race you're in.
Yeah, I so agreed. That concept of just really being able to go more often, harder when it's time to go hard, because those tissues are protected and prepared for higher intensity work, you're going to do a lot better.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's one of the biggest keys for runners to reduce injury, decrease fatigue, and then improve performance. And yet we see so few runners do it. So if that's you, if you have a hard time getting out and doing strength training, again, I want you to raise your hand. I want you to let us know and tell us why. And maybe we can help you to figure some ways out that you can incorporate that. I know one of the biggest things that people say why they can't is just time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I just don't have time to train both my running training protocol as well as get out and hit the gym or do some strength training stuff. Honestly, it doesn't have to be as much time as you might be thinking. You don't have to hit every single exercise every day. I would say pick a handful of exercises that will help you as a runner. I love squats, deadlifts, jumping jacks, or jump rope is really my favorite. Single leg deadlifts, split squats, really anything with the band, so with the looped band, so where you're doing butt busters or monster walks, all those types of exercises that help deal with the hips, quads, and calves. The calves especially are kind of underutilized, underrated for their ability to help you as a runner. And so if we can hit all of those things, you're really going to improve your health and really in a very short period of time. I would say pick 5 exercises. These are the exercise programs that I design for people. I do 5 exercises. You do each of them for 40 seconds and then 20 seconds rest. And then you go through those 5 exercises 3 times. It's 15 minutes and you can get a workout in. And if you're doing something like that several times a week, you really can get that strength training in a very quick and succinct amount of time and really help yourself out to avoid that injury as a runner.
Yeah, and another quick plug, those workouts he was actually talking about, we're going to be filming some of those later today and posting those as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we've come up with a name for that series, but be on the lookout for Body Smart running strength plans coming out soon to help keep you on the road and give you some of those benefits that we've talked about in this video. Right.
It's kind of our complete runner's guide or complete runner's program for strength training. That we can we've hit all of the major exercises that, looking at the running research, what helps people the very most to stay injury free. That's kind of what we've done. And so strength training is really, really key. We want to make sure that you're hitting it. If you've got questions about strength training, again, please drop comments down below so we can address those and help you incorporate that into your training plan. So really excited to get this message out to the running community.
Yeah, it's a big one.
That they can start strength training. Again, thanks so much to all the people that helped make this possible. Thanks so much, Preston, for joining, and we'll catch you on the next video.